I was cheated on 12 times in 6 years, and each heartbreak taught me this. People want it all, but you can't have fun with the poor guy and the rich guy too. After 3 tumultuous relationships, can you guess what I finally learned about love and trust? First and foremost, this is a lengthy post. It details at least 12 instances of infidelity I experienced over 6 years and 3 different relationships, along with the insights I gained from those experiences. I believe it can be engaging to read, and I hope it can even assist some of you. If you choose not to read it, I have posted a video where I cover everything, and I think it is more impactful to hear it directly from me. Link below. https Uru bzkdby8rog8 sysrbifwwrbtpdl35. If you are reading this, you have either been cheated on someone, or simply want to listen to a stranger recount their experience of being cheated on. You might fit into all 3 categories. Fortunately, I will discuss several different instances of my own infidelity and the lessons I learned. Reflecting on it now, it occurred more times than I would like to admit. It is quite embarrassing, and I am uncertain about what it says about me. However, I will also share the times I was unfaithful. I am not perfect, and I accept that. Being young is challenging, falling in love is difficult, and being in a relationship is probably the hardest of them all. So let us begin. The first time I was cheated on was likely the worst. This was partly due to it being my first experience, but mostly because of the circumstances involved. I was 18 at the time and infatuated with my girlfriend. Let's just refer to her as Allie. She was a hot-headed little firecracker with a troubled background and a broken home, much like my own. She was wild and unpredictable, and I adored that about her. She did not take nonsense from anyone. I even witnessed her fight another girl over a spilled drink. How could someone like her cheat on me? At that point in my life, I thought girls like that were thrilling. Given our shared emotional baggage, I believed it made sense for us to be together. So I was in love. Fast forward a year or so, and she was visiting a family friend's home for Christmas Eve. I did not go, as it was not my place to attend. However, as time passed, she did not return home. She kept texting me, assuring me that everything was fine and she would return in the morning. I shrugged it off. It was just a family friend. I let it be. She returned the next day, but she seemed different. After a few days, I could not shake the feeling that something was amiss. One night, while she was asleep, I succumbed to temptation and checked her phone. I advise against doing this. It only brings pain and sorrow that you may not be prepared for. I discovered messages between her and one of the family friends expressing their love for one another and discussing their intimacy on Christmas Eve. That was simply unacceptable. However, here is the twist. The man she cheated with had considerable challenges of his own. He was our age, but he was seriously ill. He had cancer. It was aggressive and worsening. Years before, he had endured leg amputation due to the severity of his condition. Yes, it was that dire. I felt sympathy for him. Yet, should that justify their actions? Her family certainly believed so. When she informed them that I had found out, they lectured me. They had the audacity to tell me I was wrong for being upset. Steve, he is dying. It is not a big deal. Yes, he is dying, but he still had enough strength left to sleep with my girlfriend. However, I wasn't in a position to confront him physically. I was simply heartbroken. The girl I loved cheated on me with a man battling cancer and suffering the loss of a leg on Christmas Eve, and I was made to feel like the villain because he was dying. He did pass away 2 years later. By that time, Allie and I were long gone, and I did genuinely feel sympathy for him. He was far too young to die in such a manner, and I understood. If I were in his situation, I likely would have acted the same way whenever I had the opportunity, without remorse or consideration for the repercussions. In all likelihood, there would not have been any consequences, as who would retaliate against a man with one leg battling cancer? Probably nobody. I certainly did not. So I was left feeling sad. The next person who betrayed my trust was a woman named Jen. I was with Jen for 4 years. She was unfaithful to me at least 10 times, possibly more. She was an avid gamer, deeply interested in technology and computer gaming. She interacted with numerous eager male gamers while playing online. You know how gaming guys behave when a girl enters the lobby. Initially, Jen would flirt playfully with them, and I did not think much of it. Then we began receiving packages at our apartment, including nice items like laptops and computer monitors. She told me that the guys she gamed with liked her and that she flattered them to acquire gifts. This struck me as completely wrong and twisted, but when she gave me a brand new laptop, I thought, all right, this is pretty cool. My girlfriend was essentially convincing these guys to provide us with nice and costly items. Flirt away, Jen, flirt away. It was akin to her doing OnlyFans before that platform even existed. And since she was merely charming them, it felt even better. However, it turned out she was not just flirting. I returned home early from work one night and overheard her from the bedroom. After listening for a moment, when things became too heated, I opened the door to find her on the webcam with another man while she was engaging in self-gratification. This was not her only interaction, there were many others. Ultimately, the only person deceived was me. Moreover, when she went to visit her parents a few hours away, she had been meeting up with some of these guys and doing much more than just flirting online. To put it simply, she was earning those laptops. I discovered this when one of the men contacted me on Facebook to confess. I suppose it was his way of getting revenge against her for not selecting him over me. A sort of if I cannot have you, then nobody can sentiment. Yet for some reason we stayed together. It was likely because we shared an apartment, and it seemed easier to remain there than to move out and start anew. Instead of ending the relationship, I began cheating as well. We attempted to maintain this strange connection devoid of trust while both being unfaithful to each other, returning home each night to sleep in the same bed. It is infuriating to think about now, and I cannot believe we managed to hold on for so long, but we did. Eventually, however, her friends began to message me, confronting me about how terrible I was for cheating on her and for breaking her heart the way I did, insisting that I needed to be a real man. They had no idea what she had done to me or what was actually happening. She merely told them I was the issue, so I finally ended things with her. Then I moved to the third girl who would betray my trust. Let's refer to her as Harley, like Harley Quinn. Covered in tattoos, emotionally damaged, and a heavy drinker, just like me, we were a perfect match, right? What could be more ideal than two alcoholics with trust issues drinking and enjoying each other's company night after night? Now she was the last woman I cheated on Jen with before finally leaving her. From the beginning, Harley did not trust me. She was constantly insecure, convinced I would cheat on her, despite my numerous reassurances that the situation with Jen was unusual and not indicative of my typical behavior in a relationship. However, her insecurity and lack of faith in me persisted. I understood her perspective, but it was difficult. I wanted to build a genuine and honest relationship with her and believed we were making progress. Time passed and Thanksgiving arrived. She went to her mother's house while I went to work. We usually communicated frequently, but she did not send me any messages that day, not even after I returned home. It reminded me of that Christmas with Allie, just that sinking feeling, a holiday alone again. Why wasn't she responding? Everything in me screamed that she was cheating on me. It had to be happening again. No, just let it go. It's nothing. She isn't Allie, so I tried to dismiss my apprehension. The following day, she arrived and told me her phone had died and that she had a wonderful Thanksgiving with her family. Then she took a shower. I noticed her phone was left on the bed. This was my opportunity, my chance to find out the truth. Should I trust my instincts? Would history repeat itself? Should I look through her phone? No, don't do it. Trust her. Just then, her phone vibrated and illuminated. I could clearly see the screen. A message from a man read, "I miss you too. I can't wait to feel you again." I was right. My intuition had been accurate. I picked up her phone and began to browse through it. I felt I had no choice after that. Sure enough, there were messages between them discussing meeting up, followed by messages about how they felt regarding their previous encounters. They felt pretty pleased. When I confronted her, she blamed me, saying it was my fault because I had cheated first, which I never did. Yet her insecurity hindered her from believing me. Her tears and appeals kept us together a bit longer, but ultimately I ended it. I had to. I could not repeat the Jen experience again. Then I moved forward. Now here is what I learned from each of these experiences. Experiencing infidelity is painful. It is gut-wrenching and heartbreaking every time. However, with time and reflection, I cannot entirely fault any of them for their actions. Allie sought that physical connection with a friend she cherished and was terrified he would pass away before she had the opportunity. Yet she approached it the wrong way. She could have ended things with me and pursued a full relationship with him until his death. Perhaps she wanted both. Maybe that is why some people cheat, not solely to avoid hurting the person they are with by breaking up, but because they genuinely do not want to lose them. It is entirely feasible to be in love with one person while desiring someone else or even loving another individual. The longing to have it all is a distinctly human characteristic. Individuals being selfish is not an implausible concept. They want to experience excitement without sacrificing their current reality. Even if their relationship lacks the thrill of their fantasies, they trust the stability that comes with it. And perhaps the fantasy would lose its allure if they experienced it daily. However, we only live once. Not pursuing all of your desires might lead to feelings of missing out on something you will never have the chance to experience again. It's challenging. The gravest aspect of infidelity is that the repercussions of one's actions most often impact the person who has been cheated on more severely than the one who committed the act. Inflicting emotional distress of that magnitude is wrong each time. However, is the desire itself wrong? Is it wrong to want someone else? I do not think so. It is selfish, certainly, but wrong? I do not believe so. I think it is entirely fair and very human to want. I also think it is incredibly difficult to be in a relationship and have feelings for another person. You grapple with conflicting emotions but are unable to act upon them due to your commitment to someone else. So what do? Either sever ties with one of them or cheat. It is not an easy situation, but it occurs. It occurs frequently. I am not the only person who has been cheated on, and I am certainly not the only one who has cheated. However, I believe it is essential to exit the relationship first before acting on the impulse. I think that is the fair course of action, even if it does not present itself as the most respectable option. It is still better. As for Jen, she was a materialistic individual in every sense. She desired the finer things in life and never envisioned ending up with someone like me. I was financially struggling, yet she fell for me. I could not offer her luxurious items, but she was attracted to me, my personality, my appearance, my physique. However, my attributes were not going to provide her with a new computer or take her on lavish vacations. Therefore, she sought out 10 other men who could. She wanted it all, and I cannot blame her for that. However, you simply cannot have it all. You cannot have the fun, amazing partner with no money and simultaneously enjoy the wealthy but dull suitors. You must make a choice. You need to determine what you genuinely want from life or from relationships and act accordingly. It is acceptable to commit to no one and accept whatever others are willing to give you. That is their responsibility. No one is obligated to provide you with anything, and as a single person, you owe no one an explanation. Therefore, remain single and live your best life. Do not settle for someone who does not align with your essential criteria for a partner and for life. Otherwise, you will forever seek those aspects elsewhere. As for Harley, her insecurity and lack of faith in me were burdensome. It consumed her daily, and that was my fault. I should have left Jen instead of being unfaithful to her. I could have approached my relationship with Harley genuinely and honestly, thus avoiding insecurities altogether. I recognize why she felt that way, and I never should have initiated a relationship with her. Much like other aspects of life, cheating breeds further cheating. Naturally, she would anticipate my unfaithfulness. How could she not? The capacity of our thoughts and fears to materialize into reality is remarkable. Thus, she felt compelled to act preemptively and cheat first, or as she later confessed, she felt the urge to retaliate against me for cheating on her already, which I had not done. That viewpoint stemmed solely from her assumptions based on what she had learned about me from a previous relationship. Oh well. If she taught me anything, it is to never date someone you have been unfaithful with, whether it is you that cheated or them or both parties involved. The relationship begins on a foundation of broken trust, which creates a terrible first impression. Insecurity and doubt will arise. It is not a matter of if, but rather when. So once again, do not cheat, just leave. There you have it, my 3 most problematic relationships and the lessons I gleaned from them. I do not mean to imply that if I were cheated on today, I would accept it calmly. I would not. I would feel devastated. However, I believe that these experiences have equipped me with a bit more understanding and empathy regarding the motivations behind such actions, and I hope you can gain the same. May you never experience infidelity, but if you do, I hope you learn from it. Should you find yourself cheated on, may you recover with grace and poise. I certainly did not initially, but it does improve. Keep your chin up and persevere, you will be all right. In summary, relationships are complex and infidelity is painful. However, life presents intricate challenges. We have only one opportunity at it, and sometimes our desires outweigh the risks that accompany them. People can be selfish, leading to their partners experiencing hurt. Furthermore, we often play a larger role in our partner's infidelity than we realize. Again, life is complicated. The pain of being the victim of infidelity will subside and you will eventually overcome it. Story 2. My boyfriend says, "We'll talk later," then forgets about my work struggles. After finally opening up and crying in front of him, I feel emotionally closer, but when I needed to share a flat issue, he just wanted to sleep. Am I expecting too much? Hello, everyone's. I wanted to express something that has been troubling me for a while now. I am a 28-year-old female, and my boyfriend is a 28-year-old male. Nationality, Indians. I am in a relationship with an incredible man. I have been living with him for over a year and we are quite compatible. As a person, I genuinely like him a lot. As for myself, I tend to be quite reserved. I do not often discuss my own life, as I prefer to be a good listener. I believe I have always had difficulty sharing my true feelings with anyone in the world. This has been something my few closest friends have pointed out, emphasizing that I need to work on this aspect. It is not that I do not have trustworthy people around me, it is simply part of my personality. The most I have shared is with my very close friends who have confided in me. They indicate that it is a challenge to get me to talk about my own issues, and I concur. Occasionally, I feel overwhelmed by the idea of not sharing what is happening in my life. Based on my friends' feedback, I began trying to be more open when discussing myself. Since I started living with my partner, I attempted to share a few things with him. It took a considerable amount of effort to reach that starting point. In some instances, I felt like he did not care enough to hear about what I wanted to share. Given that it required much from me to start the conversation, I sometimes sense that he does not truly care about me or what is occurring in my life. Had I mentioned the same issues to my friends, they would have been extremely eager to hear about them since they originate from me. Although we have a strong compatibility and I genuinely love him, it troubles me that I cannot easily discuss my life with him. For me, this is a significant concern because it is a basic expectation I have from close friendships. Therefore, I believe it is also a requirement for my partner that I should be able to share things with him freely. Perhaps this is too much to expect from someone, or perhaps it is the least I can expect from someone I care about deeply. To provide more context, I will share some instances where I felt as if he did not care. The first instance occurred a couple of months ago when I was dealing with work-related issues in my team. I briefly informed him about it via messages since I was at home. He promised that we would discuss it that evening. When night came, we had a conversation, but he did not inquire about the matter. Maybe he forgot. I believe he is a forgetful person, but it still hurts and gives me the impression that he did not care enough to revisit the topic. I am not a person who pushes my views onto others. I will discuss something only if I perceive interest. If I sense otherwise, I simply let it go. A couple of months later, I found myself sharing some difficult things with him in person, which I had not intended to discuss. One day we began talking and I opened up. Although this was not solely about my personal challenges but involved a mutual friend and related matters, I felt immensely proud of myself for being able to communicate openly. It was the first time I cried in front of him, and it felt liberating as I usually don't cry in front of anyone. This experience made me feel emotionally closer to him, and I realized that feeling this way in a relationship is vital for me. He listened attentively, and at last, I felt like I could share my thoughts. Let me clarify that he is not a bad listener. He does listen, but sometimes I sense that he is not inclined to talk enough. With my friends, we engage in conversations about anything and everything. Therefore, I might be expecting the same from my partner, which might be unrealistic. In the second instance, I experienced a different scenario where I felt he did not care. Regarding our current flat, I had an argument with the owner about necessary repairs that needed to be addressed since we had recently moved in. After a lengthy discussion with the owner, I felt the need to express my frustrations to my partner. However, it was late at night, and he said he wanted to sleep and suggested we talk about it the following day. While he apologized for not being able to listen to me vent at that moment, I was hurt. What compounded my disappointment was that he did not ask me about the situation the next day or the day after that. Consequently, I felt uncomfortable discussing it with him again and refrained from doing so because I did not want to compel him to listen to my complaints. I don't frequently voice grievances, rather, I only do so occasionally when overwhelmed. The primary reason I wanted to discuss this with him is that we share the flat, and if there is an issue, it affects us both. After he neglected to inquire about my work situations, I ceased discussing my personal problems but still hoped to bring up mutual concerns. He might genuinely care but be forgetful, or perhaps he does not care at all. If it is the latter, I will need to reconsider our relationship. Emotional intimacy is crucial for me, and if I share less with him, my feelings will diminish. I desire more friendship within our relationship. I am not solely invested in the romantic aspects. I sincerely like him and care about him, and I genuinely want him to share his issues with me. I am also genuinely interested in getting to know him better, yet due to these instances, I question whether he is truly interested in me. The third instance occurred similarly, where I had another intense conversation with the landlord. By intense, I mean it was formal and involved detailed discussions requiring a lot of my energy. After this encounter, I informed my partner about it 4 days later, as I felt it was necessary to share, but it took me considerable effort since he had previously chosen not to listen. I am contemplating that if I find it challenging to discuss shared problems with him, it will be even more difficult to express my personal issues, which are solely about me. This strife really disturbs me. I still love him and wish to be with him and address these issues, but only if he genuinely cares about me. I do not want to be a pushy person. I do not want to share my problems if he is disinterested. I also believe he may not be fully aware of how I have felt in these situations, and he deserves to know my perspective regarding my feelings. I find myself constantly reevaluating our relationship. Recently, I have also realized that men in general, not all obviously, do not engage in deep conversations even with their friends. They do socialize, participate in sports, watch shows, travel, etc., but I feel they seldom discuss their feelings. They have become so accustomed to this behavior that it has become second nature to them. If this is something they have done for so long, they may not fully grasp the significance of our need to discuss our feelings unless we explicitly convey it and put in the extra effort to help them understand. I believe it is not entirely their fault. It may be a result of how they were raised. Men, please correct me if I am mistaken. So before rethinking our relationship, I should make an effort to communicate my thoughts with him, even though it will be a challenging task for me. He deserves to know everything I have experienced. Perhaps he does care deeply, but societal conditioning may have shaped how he understands emotions. I have expressed my feelings, and there is no pressure for anyone to read everything. I know I have written quite a lot. If anyone has read this to the end, thank you for doing so, and if you have any constructive comments, please feel free to share them. Please let me know the best way to resolve this issue. Thank you. To summarize, my boyfriend and I are experiencing communication issues, and it is becoming challenging to share my thoughts with him. This situation makes me feel as though he does not care about me, and I actively want to find a resolution.